Howdy goons! The most common question I hear in relation to the Switch 2 as a buyer of the device is exactly what the title is. When I talk about how excited I am for the system, rather than just being allowed to be excited for something, I'm called a glazer, even though I love gaming in general. I'm excited for the Switch 2 the same way I'd be excited for any new console. I have every mainstream console released since the GBA, and several from before then. It's easier to list what I don't have: the Genesis add-ons, Saturn, Dreamcast, and a new 2DS, so I'm more of a fan of just every kind of gaming device. In addition to the usual fanboy accusations, I get asked, why not get a Steamdeck? As if that were a comparable system. These two things are entirely unlike each other, and just asking the question shows that they don't really understand what they're asking. I mean that in the nicest way possible. You're a PC-only person, I get that. I have a gaming PC too. You're not stupid, you just don't get the appeal of the Switch 2. This video is about answering the question from my perspective, in addition to a couple perspectives from other people. Before I start, I'm not saying the Steamdeck is bad. I'm saying not everyone wants it, and people may have a number of reasons to why that is. Sometimes your input is just not needed or wanted. Believe it or not, the Steamdeck isn't perfect, and neither is the Switch 2. The Steamdeck isn't a Switch 2. Seems really obvious when I say it out loud, right? I'm not saying that the Steamdeck is a lesser system, I think it's better than the Switch 2. But the Steamdeck is sort of a Windows computer on the go. When a Nintendo fan is buying a Nintendo system, they're buying into the Nintendo infrastructure, architecture, and the first-party games. I can't play my Switch 1 carts on a Steamdeck. I can emulate it, of course, but that's different. I don't get to use Nintendo's network to play with my friends. I don't get to play Switch 2 games on it. I don't get to play Nintendo games on it outside of emulation. I don't want a Steam Deck because it's not a Nintendo. The Switch 2 is a Nintendo. It's what my friends have. It's what I already have games for. And it has a lot of exclusives that I'll only be able to play on it. Me and many Nintendo fans already have an investment in this architecture. Besides, many of the games we'd want to play from PC will make it to the Switch 2 as well. The Switch definitely has a shovelware problem on the eShop, more so than Steam even, but I can still play most of what you have on PC. I already have a PC. It's true, I have a gaming PC. I just beat the final Night Lord in Night Rain. You'll see video of that in the background. I could get a Steam Deck and play my PC games on it, but I have a handheld that has Steam Link, so I can already play my PC games semi-portably. Why would I want to buy a Steam Deck to play what I already have when I can get a new system that will have games that my PC doesn't? The Switch 2 is opening the door to new gaming opportunities. As a fan of human gaming culture, I'd like to have as many options as possible. Why not get an Xbox or PS5 then? Well, easy. Those systems already port their games over to the PC. I only have to wait a little bit. Besides, I already have a Series S that I don't play. That's been in my bedroom collecting dust because my wife keeps saying that she's going to play more Dragon's Dogma 2 and then never does, but I can't take it out of the room because she'll just ask for it back later. It's kind of silly, but as I've said, doesn't really matter because Microsoft ports all of their exclusives to PC anyway. The Steam Deck is getting up there. The Steam Deck is a powerful little handheld, but it's starting to fall behind a bit in terms of power. I don't want to buy a Steam Deck and feel like I need to replace it because they make a sequel. That or some other PC handheld comes out, like the new Lenovo Legion Go S, and then I'm left feeling buyer's remorse. I know that even if the Switch 2 sucks, I'll still have it, and it will be supported for at least 5 more years. The Wii U even got 5 years out of it, and we all know how terribly that went. The Switch 2 might not be the strongest thing ever, but it'll be powerful enough for whatever Nintendo has planned. The thing is, though, the PC space, especially the handheld PC space, is constantly growing and changing. Any PC handheld I buy right now is going to be one-upped just a year later. I don't have to worry about that with Nintendo. The Steam Deck isn't mainstream. I've said this before, there are 2 things you'll never find in a Walmart: an employee when you need one, and the Steam Deck. Personally, this doesn't matter to me, but it does matter to other Nintendo fans. The average Nintendo fan doesn't even have PC hardware on their radar. They want Nintendo games, and PC doesn't have them. You're going to be able to walk into a store and leave with a Switch 2. According to Consumer Reports, Gen Z is impatient and are less likely to order online because they don't like waiting. That means that the future generations are likely going to want to walk into a store and buy a system. This is a factor in some people's purchasing decisions. But if I was a parent and my kid asked for a Steam Deck or Switch 2, I'd get them the Switch 2 because it's less of a pain than ordering online. I'd also have it immediately, so I won't have to hear them asking about it for weeks until it arrives. The Switch 2 is family friendly. This is more something parental units are concerned about. I don't really care, but it's a legitimate concern. Nintendo has parental controls that are easy to set up. I have a niece, but she's almost out of her larval state. Soon she'll be an adult, and I'm not really concerned about her playing with my Switch 2. But this is a concern for the modern parent. My grandparents didn't want me playing rated M games. They didn't decide this until I had already played several, and had long since been after I had seen a boob in video games. So this rule didn't last very long. The Steam Deck isn't fun. Before you get upset, what I mean is that the Steam Deck doesn't look fun. I look at a Switch 2 playing Mario Kart and I think, that looks fun. The Switch systems look like respectable young men. The Steam Deck, I wouldn't let anywhere near my daughter. You feel me? The Steam Deck is a bad boy. The Switch 2 would ask me my pronouns before calling me sir, ma'am, or by my name because non-binaries haven't invented a word for sir yet. The Steam Deck is also just kind of ugly. It's like a Wii U gamepad if it was a professional bodybuilder. Emulation made easy. It's very easy to emulate games on the Steam Deck as well as on PC, but I'm saying that as someone who knows how to set up Batacera and RetroBat. Easy for me is very different than easy for the average console user. There is a big reason why people want to buy retro emulation handhelds with games pre-installed, because they have no idea how emulation works and had no idea how to find game files in a safe and reliable way. They're asking for handhelds pre-installed with ROMs on them already because they think that that's a good idea. The ROMs that come on systems like Ambernick handhelds are all in Chinese or are just bad ROMs. They genuinely have no idea what they're asking for. So yeah, the Switch 2 playing GameCube, N64, Genesis, NES, SNES, and Game Boy Advance for $50 a year is preferable for most people, even if that means they're missing out on retro achievements. Steam Deck and PC are for power users. As I mentioned just now, the average Nintendo consumer isn't a power user, they're a casual. They don't know anything about hardware besides higher number is better. PC comes with a bunch of setup and tweaking for every game you play, even more so on a PC handheld. With my PC, I know anything I run is going to work fine with no changes to graphics or anything, but with a Steam Deck, I'm going to have to mess around for a bit to try and get each game to work as best as possible. This isn't something you need to worry about on a console. Games are set up to work out of the box. You don't need to fiddle with them. Think of a PC like home cooking a meal, and the Switch 2 as a TV dinner. It might not be as good, but some people just want the convenience and speed of a TV dinner. The Steam Deck is bulky. Sure, neither system is something that I'd call portable. I think handheld is being generous even. More like hands-held. It's kind of funny how people were giving the Game Gear and Sega Nomad so much crap for being really big and not technically portable or handhelds. Meanwhile, we've got Steam Decks and Switch 2s that are bigger than those. Anyway, the Steam Deck is significantly larger, almost twice as much in size as the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is also large, but it's thin. The cases for it will be thinner, and thus it will take up less space and weighs less in my bag. I don't like the controller layout. The Steam Deck is a great device, I'd never deny that, but I do think there are some things it has absolutely bungled, and one of those is its controller layout. I have played with the Steam Deck before. I tried out my roommate's a while back. She never played it. The controls are way too close together. The analog sticks are way up at the top like a Wii U gamepad. The buttons and D-pads are to the left and right of the sticks instead of being at an angle. This makes them feel cramped. The touchpads take up a lot of space that would have been better used for more controller space. Does there even need to be trackpads? It's a touchscreen, right? I hate it when PC users or developers try to do anything with controllers. It's designs like this that really show that the makers have never used a controller. It's weird. The device itself is very ergonomic, but the button placement is just so bad. It's like the developers didn't have hands. The Switch 2 isn't ideal either. The button placement is better, but it lacks ergonomics. But if I hate the Joy-Cons, I can always buy third-party ones in the future to replace it. I probably will, since the Switch 2 doesn't have Hall effect sticks. But the Steam Deck's controls are really bad. It's like they looked at the Wii U gamepad's design and was like, okay, let's do that, but worse. The Steam Deck is an accessory. A Steam Deck isn't a replacement for your home computer. Neither is it a replacement for a gaming console. Instead, it sits in this weird in-between. I think the Steam Deck doesn't really appeal to a person who doesn't have a gaming PC already, which makes this an incredibly niche product. If you have a gaming PC, you don't really need a Steam Deck. You can play games way better on a PC, but the Steam Deck is portable, kind of. It's big, bulky, and the 5 Steam Deck owners that I know never play it or take it outside of the house. So even though it's an accessory for a gaming PC owner, it doesn't really make sense as an accessory either. It's just incredibly niche. I don't think anyone recommending it to me even has one. This just feels like another Steam box. The people who would use it don't need it or benefit from having it. And the final reason, because I want a Switch 2. I'm 34,000 years old. I'm grown enough to know what I want. It's my money, and I'm hurting no one and minding my own business. I didn't start making videos like this until people started busting down my door for wanting a Switch 2. If me playing a Switch 2 bothers you that much, I don't know what else to say, dude, besides cry about it. It's nothing against the Steam Deck. As you can see, I've explained numerous times, it's nothing against the Steam Deck itself. It's more that the comparison of Steam Deck versus Switch 2 doesn't really make sense. Even when we're talking about retro gaming handhelds like Anbernick or Retroid devices, I still hear people say, just get a Steam Deck, bro, as if that was comparable too. Anbernic devices are usually under $100, and Retroid is under $200. I think the average Steam Deck fan just doesn't understand the appeal or differences of these other devices. They specialize. The Steam Deck is more of an all-rounder device. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see y'all later. Check out my blog if you want to see some exclusives, nimzynova.com. I post exclusives here on YouTube too, so you'll find something interesting either way. I'll see y'all later. Bye. Bye 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 bye. Bird pace. Lord of my balls!
Fuck you!